When you have one of these Rubicon sway bars, you want to make sure that you have end links that are long enough, because if you don't, what happened to me will happen to you, and we don't want that to happen.
And that's a sway bar end link replacement.
So we're going to take a look at the dead sway bar link. All right. So here's the good one, and we're going to measure, and roughly center to center, we're looking at about 9 1/4 inches. Okay, so this is what happened. This is the end result. You can see this piece of all thread that used to be straight is no longer straight, and it's actually completely ripped free. You can see there's been some damage on the front, but this is just cosmetic. And this thing that it used to be connected to, you can see the end of the all thread. This link wasn't long enough, so I need to get a better link. And so we'll do a comparison. We'll look at how long my links are, and then we'll see what Kenneth has, because his didn't invert, and so I'm probably just going to use what he used. And so this is the Metalcloak sway bar end link that Kenneth has. You can see it's not a threaded rod. It's a solid rod with solid bushings or joints on either end. And these links are interchangeable side to side. They're the same length. And center to center, oh yeah, 12 inches. So what is that, 2 3/4 inch longer, and that'll help prevent the issue of inverting. And so I'm just going to order a set of these on the way home, and hopefully they'll be waiting for me when I get home, and we'll fix it up. So I actually didn't know that this had broken, because I was just running the trail, and a couple of the spotters said, "Hey, there's something wrong with your sway bar," and I looked at it, and it didn't stop me from running the trail. You know, I did have to stop, because the sway bar arm had folded all the way down, and it was hitting that steering arm. And so I stopped at a place where I flexed a little bit to get the end of the sway bar arm so that I could move it back up, and it kind of holds itself up. But if yours is loose, you could zip tie it, whatever, to hold it up so it's not just flopping around and banging on things and causing other problems. And theoretically I could drive this all the way home. It would be not as fun of a drive because the sway bar really helps on the highway. Fortunately, we're towing home, and these things are quick and easy to fix if you have the parts. So yeah, I mean, it sucks that it broke, but you know, live and learn, upgrade. And the nice new curve on it will keep it from catching inside the spring, as long as I had a zip tie in my hand.
Since you're standing there with the zip tie.
Yeah.
Pliers?
Huh?
You want pliers to pull it tight?
Oh, it's good.
So this is a trailside repair example.
Mm-hmm.
If this happens to you, this is something you could consider.
Yeah. And moral of the story is, when you add more flex, lengthen your sway bar end links. As long as we're in the neighborhood and they have them in stock, we decided to stop by Metalcloak's main warehouse and buy some replacement sway bar end links. And I think we found good company to park with next to it. So one of the problems I've had for a little while, I have this DEF tank skid plate, and I landed on it and bent this portion right here. This was straight when I installed it, And it was still protecting everything okay, it's just a little misshapen. Now, Metalcloak has since redesigned it with a reinforcement bend in it, but I was reluctant to spend the money on buying a new one with shipping. But as long as I'm at their facility and I don't have to pay for shipping, I got a new skid plate, and so we'll be swapping that out when we get back to Colorado. So we're glad we visited Metalcloak. It was cool to be there at their facility and talk to them in person. And we're going to start installing parts here, but I wanted to show you a little bit more detail. I know we talked about it previously about why this sway bar end link inverted, and so I want to show you the other one that's still intact. All right, so here we are on the driver's side that's still intact. We're up on the lift. It's at full droop with the axle being basically straight, and if you come in, you can see. You see how this sway bar drops down and this link is here, and you can see they're almost straight. And if I were to push up that other side and push this side down a little bit, I'd get this straight, and that's when this could invert and do the exact same thing.
Yeah, what that means is this came straight down.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I understand inversion now, and that's why it bent over the tie rod.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why when you have one of these Rubicon sway bars, you want to make sure that you have end links that are long enough, because if you don't, what happened to me will happen to you, and we don't want that to happen.
So this is the passenger side in the same situation. The sway bar is currently connected, so the other side is controlling where this sits. But you can actually see that there's a gap. Even if this was straight in this current position, this end link won't fill this gap. So even at this point, at full droop, this is actually going to be further down.
And actually, what would happen if that was still connected is this tire would actually, this side would actually be lifted up a little bit, because that's what the sway bar does. It keeps the axle level.
Yep.
And so with it disconnected, this side's allowed to droop a little further.
Well, drooping is good, but you want more controlled drooping.
Yeah.
Correct.
Drooping on the trail is great. Drooping on the drooping on the
They're playing with the mic.
yeah, drooping on the trail is fine. Drooping on the road, yeah, not so much.
And I keep asking these questions because Penny does not have a front sway bar at all. And I am used to the body roll. It looks a little like this when you're driving behind me, but I'm used to it. The JLs are not necessarily as used to it as I am, and theirs are daily drivers. Mine is not. So I'm completely comfortable with Penny not having a front sway bar.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. So some people might ask, okay, since it's broken, why don't you put in a Curry anti-rock? And there's nothing wrong with Curry anti-rock sway bars. The thing about them is that they replace the entire sway bar. They get rid of the disconnect piece. They get rid of everything in. And the idea is that you have a sway bar on there that works on the road and it works off-road. You don't have to disconnect. You just go driving. It's fine. The problem is that the whole point of the sway bar is to keep the body from leaning. You don't want it to lean. And when I'm on the road and I'm going around corners, I'm driving, I like as much sway bar as I can have so that it keeps me level. It drives better that way. And when I'm off-road, I like to fully disconnect. The anti-rock still restricts your sway or your droop a little bit. Not as much as a regular sway bar. And so it's nice in the middle. It works. A lot of people like it. You get used to the way it drives. Personally, I like to have more droop on the trail and less sway on the street. And so that's why I'm staying with my Rubicon sway bar.
So we can see here along the drag link where, you know, after this broke, this was rubbing up and down.
This bar was actually pointing almost straight down. This piece that was damaged was sitting up here, rubbing here.
Gotcha. So yeah, we actually see, and actually kind of some mushrooming of the bolts and the end of the behind here, or into the link here, where this was smashed, pulled, and deformed,
rubbing,
and rubbing.
Yeah, so. And I actually had to get to a point on the trail where this was drooping down far enough so that I could get this arm back up, because it was, when you're at full compression, this was down here where it was in the way.
Gotcha. All right, let's start the repairs, the replacement.
Yep.
And it requires some tools. So it seems like as a replacement, this isn't very technical.
Oh, this is a very easy job.
Excellent.
It's a couple of nuts.
Besides us. So when this is disconnected and this was broken, this just runs loose, and you see where it comes down, and you can actually see there's a witness mark, and there's a witness mark on this side as well where this came down. And if you come in from this vantage point, you can actually see where this and this interfere with each other. And again, I can feel the rough metal.
Yeah. And as you steer back and forth, this moves and pushes that and rubs, and that's why it was jammed.
Yep. So you can see this really well at this point, that this end link at full droop would have allowed this to reach this point, and then it wants to invert, and then things snap.
They need to do a bolt run. So just to cover, this sway bar end link is the short one. You can see, okay, so this is not a stock part. This is part of the Polite off-road kit, and you can see it's a threaded end and a threaded end, and you put these joints on the end. The thing is, you cut this to length so that you get a specific length. It's a universal kit, and you can actually make it quite a bit wider if you want longer, whatever you call it. I cut this to the instructions that they gave me with the kit, and it worked fine until I put in the Metalcloak shock relocation kit, which moves the bottoms of the shocks outboard a little bit, which lets the axle droop further, and I put longer shocks on, which is what let the axle droop further, which is why this is now not long enough. Kenneth has the Metalcloak sway bar end length, and this is what I went with, and you can see very obviously this one is a lot longer, and what this is going to do is it's going to keep the sway bar from inverting, because, and we'll show you once we get this installed, what will end up happening is the angle that you'll get, what happens is it does that. What will happen is this will only go that far, and so it won't get to the point where it wants to invert. It'll stay at an angle so that it'll just do this all day long. That doesn't fit. I wonder if the bolt goes up here.
No.
No. You may have to drill it out.
Huh.
I might actually have to read the instructions.
There we go.
The old one has been removed.
So, figured out one thing I did wrong. I bought the wrong sway bar extensions. As I look a little closer, 2024 and newer. This is a 2021. This is a 14 millimeter stud. This is probably a 12 millimeter hole. It's too big to fit. But we have a step bit that'll do 9/16, and 9/16 and 14 millimeter are very, very close to each other. Close enough that I think that will work. And so be careful if you've got a JT, JL, and you're using these kits. Make sure you get the right one for your year so that you get the right size bolt. And yes, the 12 millimeter will fit in the 14 millimeter hole, but it will wallow around and go bad on you. So make sure you get the one that matches your vehicle. And as April was pointing out, so the Metalcloak, both of the sway bars are like this, and so you need the factory bolt in the axle that came with the factory sway bar end links. The Clayton on the driver's side uses this double jointed one, and so I don't have the bolt with me anymore. I saved it. It's in a box at my house half an hour away. Yeah, so this and this, I mean, this is compatible. This will work.
It'll work if
yeah.
you're doing a Metalcloak install on stock.
Yeah.
We just aren't.
Yep.
Yeah.
What you doing, Roy?
I'm writing. So Kenneth actually has a metric step bit, which takes us to 14 millimeter, which is preferred over 9/16, but 9/16 would work in a pinch. But what I'm doing is I'm marking on here on the 16 step so that I don't go past 14. All
right, while the guys are doing some boring drilling, take a look at this. Pretty step rail. Works great.
Okay.
Now let me show you the other side. Holy frijoles, Batman, look at what he did here. Or shall I say what a rock did here.
Yeah, I'm
It's completely dented.
That's what I was
Give an angle to show you that. Holy cow. But they're holding up. One thing I also noticed is that if I step back here, notice the gap increases. So we definitely did concave that thing up, whatever rock it landed on. Done.
Yep. Okay, so our step bit got most of the way through. Didn't get all the way through before it was stepping up to the next level, and we don't want to do that because then it kind of reduces the integrity. What we ended up doing is getting a 9/16 drill bit to drill all the way through, which comes out to 14.28 millimeters for those who are doing the calculations, which is just a hair bigger than the 14 millimeter shank of the stud that comes out of this end link, and so it's just a hair bigger, but it'll probably be good enough.
Lordy, Roy.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's the point of having a Jeep if you don't use it?
No kidding. You're using it. He-Man.
Hercules. Okay, so this doesn't quite fit. It's been squeezed down a little bit. That's okay. Going to use our handy bending tool to bend it out a little bit because the bolt will clamp it back together. And there. And now I just got to get it lined up. And of course I can't actually see it to see if it's lined up.
That looks like the stock flag nut, or am I wrong?
This is the stock flag nut and the stock original bolt.
Gotcha.
And so a flag nut, if you've never seen a flag nut, is just a nut with a stamped steel piece so that I can put it in place. It's really hard to actually get a wrench on it, but the flag sticks up Is that actually threading? Yes, that's actually threading. Did I actually get that on the right way? Does that go on the inside or the outside? Oh, I should check that before I get too far.
Looking up torque spec, I said 35.
They are doing 90 foot-pounds.
Ooh, I was way off.
Yeah, I was going to say like 70 to 90.
You said you didn't have a guess.
Well, I lied. That's going to be a bear to get in.
Nice save for our YouTube channel.
We may have to compress the suspension, get it back down on the ground. Because as the axle droops on this side, the track bar kind of pulls it that direction, which means...
That isn't lined up right.
Well, it'll be fine, but getting the stud all the way in is a challenge.
I see that. Okie dokie. I'm always working on the other side. Kenneth is on the driver's side. Right, I swear, you've taken that out a couple of times now.
Well, when you don't read the instructions.
See, I could have said the same thing about this side, but now that I know, you just raise the sway bar up.
Yeah.
All right, now that I'm done futzing with the GoPro that won't behave, tell me what you guys did.
So we torqued the upper bolts here on the studs, and we've now worked this in as close as we can get it. Now, as you can see, this is at an angle, and it's keeping this double shear connection on this lower bolt from lining up. So Roy is working on connecting the opposite side, and then we'll put some weight on it, which will cause the axle to shift over and help line this up.
That's at even more of an angle. Shows the
Well,
amount that things have moved.
But it's also...
Yep, well that's going to be fun.
Well.
We may actually want to leave that one loose until we get the other side connected.
Okay.
Because the other side's going to fight us more.
You got it in place. And it is freaking hot out here, guys. And what we're doing here is we're setting it down so that everything will line up a little bit better.
Yeah. And so watch that as we get weight on the vehicle.
A lift does not solve every problem.
Well, this would happen on jack stands too if you have no weight on the axles.
Oh, it's hot. The top definitely came in.
Yeah. So it actually the
Yeah, the whole
body
thing.
shifted over and the axle shifted the other way.
It sure did.
Tension there.
I have no doubt. Okay, so can you lift me back up just a hair? More. More. Okay, stop. Perfect. That's exactly where I needed to be.
Dang it, the lift does solve every problem.
Sometimes the long wrench is not such a great thing.
80. Almost there. So here we got the new ones installed. And if you come in, you can see how this is a lot steeper angle than with the short link. And so as this droops, if it even droops farther, it won't get to the point here where it's even and will invert. So this will serve me a lot better, I think, in the future. And hopefully I won't run into this problem again. So one of the things, and Kenneth brought this up, is when this suspension is compressed, this arm is actually going to raise up and it's going to hit right here.
The inner fender liner.
Yeah, just the plastic inner fender liner. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get a zip tie in here to hold it back just a little bit out of the way so that this arm will have a little better free travel.
And that's the setup he already did on blue.
Yep. Popped a hole right there in that recess. And you can see right there under, yeah, right, well, right there is a brake line, and we're just going to zip tie around that brake line.
So on this side, on the driver's side, it's a little trickier to find something to wrap it around, but there's this nice big bracket right here on the pump.
Yep.
It's always sort of interesting. What's behind?
Yeah, what's behind door number 3?
Yeah. So, yeah, right about here.
Go.
I don't want to say.
And that's a sway bar end link replacement.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Go.
And don't forget, if you like this video, press like and subscribe.
If you like what we do,
Yeah.
help us out.
Seriously.
Like, subscribe, share.
Comment.
Comment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us we're idiots.
That works too. Because we already know we are. You won't hurt our feelings.